I'm Kanami from Johns Hopkins University. Imagine that you just found out that your middle school best friend was homeless. You never realized because she always wore brand name clothes, and you live in a pretty well-off community. Whenever you would ask if you could go over, she would say no because her parents were pretty strict or that she lived really far away. But then you found out that like so many other homeless children, she was forced to transfer to your school because her family relocated again, and that all the brand name clothes she wore were actually donations. Child homelessness is so common, yet so many people don't realize it. Amongst the U.S. homeless population, 34% are families with children. This is especially unfair for these young children because it's not even their fault that they're homeless. Whether the cause is their parents' drug addiction or their lack of education, these children have no control over their disadvantaged situation. The reality is that these children are probably going to become the next cycle of homelessness. One of the main problems is that with frequent relocations and unstable family dynamic, so much room is left for emotional damage. It is also extremely difficult for these children to receive decent education and accepted from society to thrive in. There's often no role model that they can follow, and two distinct problems have come from this situation. First is that there's a lack of emotional support. Second is that there lacks a parental role model that can properly display skills needed for the future of this child. Dasani is an 11-year-old homeless girl with 7 siblings and 2 drug-addicted parents who fight about money and spend their little income really irresponsibly. Dasani finds her escape in school. But the tough girl that she is still worries about people finding out where she lives and sometimes gets in trouble for fighting. Furthermore, drama strikes their family occasionally and causes more emotional damage, forcing her to mature too quickly for her age. She makes honor roll, but she has potential. She makes honor roll, and her teachers describe her as having an intuitive approach to learning. But how is she going to break out of this cycle without succumbing to her parents' ways? And even if Dasani adamantly refuses to become like her parents, what if she feels like there's no other option? And that's where we come in. We're planning the details for a school program for homeless students that will assist them throughout their student career. One part of the program focuses on building community and promoting support between the students in similar situations. Discussions guided by psychologists would encourage students to reach out to one another and to teachers, ultimately relieving them of their emotional stress. Another part of them provides educational advice, giving them the options and the skills necessary for their future. For example, teaching them how to set priorities and use their money wisely can carry them far away. By making the program interactive and using hypothetical situations, the children will develop a method of thinking that they can use whenever they grow up and they have to actually face these problems. We believe that the best way to maximize possibility for a brighter future for these children is to start at a young age. Though we have the ideas, we don't have the money to put this plan in motion. I hope that you will support me in our mission to aid these children and unlock their potential.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sam Beckley from Johns Hopkins University. Prisons have a very simple formula that they use to decide how fast they'll need to expand. They look at the number of grade school children there are that can't read. The more children there are that can't read, the more cells they'll need to build. This is a very unfortunate statistic, but it's true. And despite this, the literacy rate in the United States has not changed at all in recent years, and not because we've done away with illiteracy. The most recent National Assessment of Adult Literacy found that in Baltimore County alone, in our very own backyard, nearly 16% of adults are functionally illiterate. Nationwide, this statistic is thought to be as high as 1 in 7 adults that cannot read the side of a medicine bottle or simple warning labels placed on products that they could be purchasing. Stories are powerful. Picture yourself as a child, growing up in poverty in any of America's major cities. You're being raised by a mother who is stretched thin between 2 jobs and holding your family together, and a father who's nothing but a faint memory. Not only do you pass gang members and drug dealers on your way to school, but you see them again in between your classes, recruiting the next generation to continue the cycle. Take a moment and think about your future. Sure, you know that hypothetically, life can get better than this, but that's more a fairy tale than a reality. And the reality that you're facing here is that you will most likely grow up to be the next generation in a cycle of poverty. This is where stories come in and can change things. Stories can offer this child a wealth of experience that shows them just how different life can be. Stories are how we can connect to everything that the human race knows. Stories are how we can speak to the dead and to learn from them, to learn from their mistakes and their life experiences. Stories are how this child, born into poverty, can raise themselves up and stop themselves from being just another statistic. However, at this moment, you might notice a slight flaw in my reasoning. Take a moment, step back into that child's shoes, look around their house. Do you see any stacks of books containing the wisdom of the ancients waiting to raise this child up out of poverty? No, there are no books in this child's house. This is where libraries come in. However, for me to equate a library to a stack of books would not do the library justice. Libraries are institutions that provide access to information, access that is becoming increasingly important in this so-called age of information. However, as the importance of the library increases, their funding and their proliferation decreases. Many in positions of power see libraries as obsolete with the advent of the internet, and cutting their funding is an easy way to decrease government spending. Not only is this view false, it's internally inconsistent, as libraries provide access to the internet to those who might not otherwise have it. Access that can, in turn, provide access to job opportunities and to healthcare. Access to the internet that can provide access to a better life, something that would not be possible without the library. It is my goal to help preserve libraries in cities by helping to strengthen the bond between the community and the library. Simple programs that do nothing more than bring children into libraries and get them reading can easily change the lives of those children. However, the impact can be much greater than the impact that these programs have on these single lives. Bringing the children into the libraries gives their mothers some free time where they know that their child is safe, is in a safe environment. It strengthens the bond between the library and the community, increasing the chance that the library is there for future generations. As Albert Einstein said, if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Hoyne. Quick poll first. Please raise your hand if you think that money and resources in this country could be put to better use. Good. I'm glad that everyone agrees with me. Well, first off, it kills me that billions of dollars are being spent to improve infrastructure when most of this cost could be avoided in the first place. Instead, this money could be used to fund education for inner city children, or a program to help homeless people get back on their feet. My point is, why do we settle for just satisfactory when we can do something excellent? Both of my parents grew up with not that much money and had to work for themselves to provide for their families and for themselves. They have taught me to be thankful for what I have and to give back when I can. As long as I can remember, my mother would bring me to our local church and we would either donate our time or donate clothes. When I was about 10 years old, I met a boy named Danny who would later become one of my good friends and I would go to school with. Danny's parents immigrated to the United States way back before we were born, but unfortunately they had some trouble finding the jobs that they wanted. Danny's father worked 3 jobs while his mother worked 1 job just to provide for Danny and his siblings. Danny often talked about how his family was always putting in more money to work for to improve their houses, but instead, Danny often talked about how his house was always being repaired due to leaks and faulty work. If it wasn't for the constant repairs, Danny's father would be able to work less and they would be able to live more comfortably. Going back to the lesson of giving back when you can, I used to wonder to myself, how can I do something? I'm not a social worker. How can I make a difference? That was before I came across a truly unique material, which name is hempcrete. To save time, I've handed you all a sheet of some properties and qualities of hempcrete. Just to highlight some qualities, hempcrete is not a new material. In fact, it was rediscovered pretty recently, but the main thing that I want to talk about is how it was used in a 6th century bridge. That's 14 centuries ago, 1400 years ago. That is not all. It works very similar to concrete, but it is 1/7 of the weight and a better insulator to temperature, water, and pests. Some of you might be asking yourselves, why is this important now? How can it really help society? The recent legalization of marijuana in 2 states, Washington and Colorado, has opened the door for the hemp industry. Because legalization in before legalization in the United States, no one had permission to grow or harvest hemp. Despite this, hempcrete is still comparable in price to concrete. Once legalization spreads to other states, hemp will be more available and cheaper for transport. This means that in the next few years, hempcrete could be cheaper than concrete. Looking from an economic standpoint, it makes more sense to use cheaper material, hempcrete, when it can be just as good, if not better. Hempcrete is also versatile. It can be manipulated to work for a specific site's needs. The application of hempcrete that I am particularly interested in is the insulation and fire resistance of it. Hempcrete can be applied by spraying a wall and its members fully until covered, and then finished with either a lime render or masonry to block the elements. So, currently existing houses can be re-insulated and their framework stiffened to allow them to last longer. Now to the more important question. How can hempcrete really help society? As you can see, the applications and qualities of hempcrete vary widely. The main goal of my project is to provide a solution that indirectly affects individuals and communities. My project will help individuals like Danny's family by lowering their energy bills, reducing the amount of money and time spent repairing a house, making their house stronger and more fire resistant, and making their house more comfortable to live in. My project will help communities and governments by reducing the amount of money spent on repairing infrastructure, saving the times for meetings so governments can spend more time implementing and starting new programs, and reducing carbon dioxide. Another goal of my project is to provide this service at a minimum or no cost to people who really need it. Because hempcrete can be manipulated so easily, it can be applied virtually to any structure that requires insulation. Hopefully, after the information shown, you see why I ask, do we settle for just satisfactory when we can do something excellent? Thank you.